White Jesus, white God imagery has literally resulted in death.
This is what is happening to us today. We are suffering from post-traumatic slavery syndrome and post-traumatic slavery disorder as a result, a direct result of colonial slavery.
Nowhere can you buy a black person in this world except for the Arab Muslim world.
So the slaves, you pass through this door, and through this door, still in chains.
I wish at this point to particularly to apologize deeply on behalf of the chiefs and people of Gold Coast and Ghana.
Can the African diaspora really call Ghana home? This week's ORT. Organize, sit down, reason and talk. Akwaba, I am Kush-I, and in this special edition of ORT, I'll be talking about repatriation, going home to Africa, following my first trip to the land of the Ashanti. Ghana, along with the Gambia and Ethiopia, are popular destinations for the African diaspora, so I personally was bursting to find out what it would be like once I arrived. 2018 saw a very long winter in London.
This train is for...
It was bleak, it was cold, and it was really long.
Water running, and then it just freeze.
The arrival of the much anticipated Black Panther movie in February was one of the few things that broke up the winter blues. Fortunately for us, we had the trip to Ghana also to look forward to. Once at the embassy, the trip became a reality. We were going to Ghana. Generally, we'd heard very good things about Ghana. We have friends and family there. But was this a true account? What about the people's attitude towards us as people from the diaspora who had been sold, expelled, rejected? Would they want us? And would we want them? Our direct flight from London to Accra was a beautiful start. To be surrounded by black people on a plane is a great feeling.
Brace position and location and operation of the doors. If you have any...
One of the first differences we noticed from the view in traveling to Africa as opposed to going to Jamaica was the landscape. Striking mountains and rivers carved out over thousands and millions of years left us breathless at times. And the view of the setting sun alone was worth the journey. Once at the airport, it felt like we would never leave. It was slow, long, and there was no communication. However, this has happened to me before in Newark when I went to New York on one occasion, so it's not just something that applies to Ghana. However, there was one experience that would become familiar throughout our time here. We were approached by a very friendly person who said he could help us out as he works at the airport. We didn't take up the offer. We were later told that this was a means of people being able to make money on the side. Maybe keeping us in a long queue was intentional. Outside the airport is very reminiscent of Norman Manley Airport in Jamaica, except bigger.
Salute! Yeah man, with the Africa, they are Ghana, that's fire. So far so good, people them nice, journey good. It take a bit of time to come out of immigration, very slow queue. But otherwise we're good man, we're good. Everything nice, the people them irie. To the beach here. And one thing we notice about that beach, you know. You never see the water calm on it yet, you know?
One of the benefits of staying at the La Palm Royal Hotel, which is said to be expensive, is the grounds. You have lots of space to walk around, which is very, very important in Accra because once you get out on the streets, the air is polluted with car fumes. And if you want to get around town, you need a car with AC. And I did love see black people on billboards, everyday goods being advertised with black faces, which have its pros and cons, but it's refreshing, just like yard. All the red, gold and green Guinness advert, boom. There are around 40 slave dungeons along the coast of Ghana, and in Jamestown, a rough-looking part of Accra, there is one at James Port. Right through Ghana, and I suppose Africa, just like Jamaica, one thing that you'll definitely come across is hard-working black women. Almost everywhere you look, you see a woman walk with something on her head. Black women in Africa are the driving force of the economy. On many occasions, for a moment, I thought I was in Jamaica. Some things are just so similar in terms of the hustle, like how they load the buses, for example. And just like Jamaica, they like to write biblical phrases on their transportation. And I was really surprised by the amount of Jamaica flags that I saw. Jamaica flags are everywhere. And just like in Jamaica, you buck up people with the 5 words, like this chicken man. I walk the street with them box of chicken. Accra is very congested though, especially by the market. You will also come across people selling paintings.
This is our cocoa village from Ghana. The place you get a cocoa to do the chocolate in the Milo.
Okay. And fool me, I thought the people who were selling the paintings were the people who had created the art, but it seems like they go to some wholesale and just buy them and sell them.
They are cooking the breakfast. They call them banku. They used to eat in the tilapia.
Okay,
yes,
cut again.
African dish. These are the banku. They use corn to do it. And our mother used to cook. This is mother in charge. This is black and white. And these are the pallet work. These are the market. They are selling tomatoes.
Ghana seems church mad. Massive flyers advertising events and those for funerals. Both needed to raise funds. Cantonments, home to W.E.B. Du Bois, is a very affluent part of Accra, and there are many more. Grand, aspirational architecture that attracts a lot of foreigners. It was there that we came across this 28th of February Road, a very Caribbean sounding style of name. Our journey out of Accra brought us in touching distance of real hardship, a millennium away from the lifestyle of contentments. The Muslims, for example, although they live side by side with the Christians, live in abject poverty. As tarmac gives way to dusty roads, you get a sense that everything earns its keep in the country. Country life is unmistakably hard, and practices such as eating bushmeat are much stronger in the countryside. A visit to Elmina Castle is a must. The surrounding area is very reminiscent of Port Royal. It has that old colonial ghostly feel about it.
The Portuguese called this town El Mine. El Mine in Portuguese means the mine. In the 16th century, that was the 1500s going, the Portuguese started the transatlantic trade. So Elmina Castle as it's standing now is 536 years old. And the Portuguese were here for 155 years. The Dutch 235 years. The British 85 years. And Ghana 61 years, so we are still counting.
It was surreal being in the dungeon, knowing that so many people had been brutalized, killed, or sent to an uncertain future. And within an hour, I'd be able to go home free. The description of the treatment that the Africans received was very disturbing. Being in the dungeon definitely gives you a real sense of the hatred Europeans have towards Africans. Systematic dehumanization, their modus operandi.
After people catch them, they will sell them. And you know, there's a convenience like a bathroom. The wooden containers were placed at the places where the slaves would eat themselves in. And whilst they were not warfare, procedures were taken in the slaves were they can get a strength to fight with them. So by the second month, everybody will weak and you can't walk around. So you have to urinate on the floor, you eat yourself on the floor. And also the women, so you pass the women on the floor. And a small hole there was ventilation. Air passes through to the street. But it was connected to another record magazine where they were keeping guns, gunpowder. And gunpowder is very poisonous. So the chemicals passes through and it comes there. So the conditions here were very bad. And we had 8 of these cannonballs here with chains on them. And if you're a woman, and the governor chooses you to be taken to the bedroom to be raped and you refuse, you'll be brought here. And 2 of those will be set aside. And the chains will be tied on the woman's ankles. And the woman will stand here, rain or shine, no food, no water. And you'll be here till just like before you'll be released. And it was done to serve as a lesson to women. Until like the governor picks you, you are free and ready. So this is the female exit to the room of no return. When the ships arrive, all the female slaves who have survived, they put them in chains and will march into the room of no return. Room of no return is where the ships will come and take all the captives away.
So here's the thing. This guide is going to go on to describe Christianity and its involvement in the enslavement of Africans from day one. And yet, across the diaspora, we have people who are serious believers in Christianity.
And also at the center of this court, we have this building, the Portuguese church. This was the first Roman Catholic church, which was built in Gold Coast, now Ghana. It was built in 1596. But when the Dutch captured the castle, they were Protestants. So the Dutch didn't use the Roman Catholic church. They built theirs upstairs. And the thought of the church was first removed. And the church was divided into 2. Upper floor used as junior soldiers' mess, where the soldiers were eating and drinking. And the ground floor as a slave auction hall, where they were buying and selling slaves.
The guide told us that the word palaver comes from Portuguese, meaning to barter or to sell. Sending millions into slavery in auction rooms built in churches directly above the slave dungeons says something about the character of these people. Surely no other nation on earth could be as cruel to the Africans as the Europeans had been.
Did the Muslim empires practice slavery?
Absolutely. Slavery was a very important part of Islamic expansion in West Africa, and in fact in the Sudan, and from the very earliest period of Islamic penetration into Africa.
You got all kinds of names for people like me up in your world. What names black people got for you? I'm just asking, what names do black people have for Muslims that are derogatory, that make Muslims feel that they are less than human? None. You got a bag of them. Kafir, Abid, pagan.
We found the country's black citizens often experience verbal abuse. We also discovered cases where racial prejudice had led to physical violence.
Do you
want to marry this guy? We endured emotional, mental, and physical trauma.
Racial slurs, death threats, and slander from some of those closest to us.
And we're told to give up on each other based solely on our difference of skin tone. I had a loaded gun pressed to the back of my head.
brothers, we're not black. Let's stop talking like we're black.
The first enslaver of African people was the Arab Muslim.
The Arab conquest of North Africa was a form of colonization that took place in the 7th century when Arab Muslims burst out of Saudi Arabia and conquered Egypt and went on to conquer the whole of North Africa. There were a lot of Berber tribes there. The Egyptian Copts were the original indigenous of the land, as well as the Berbers. And they were all conquered and Islamized and Arabized. That was also a form of colonization, definitely.
642 AD, bro. White people didn't start enslavement until the 1400s. You still do it today. Nowhere can you buy a black person in this world except for the Arab Muslim world.
Burial sababu nimepatikana na mfano wa tatskua mniokoe mniokoe miro na sonde pere
Despite stories of abuse, thousands of women from Kenya and Ghana still sign up with recruitment agencies, like this one in Jordan.
Marivik? Give me lighter. I don't think there is a human rights in this world. No way. Maybe in Europe, but not in the Middle East.
The same thing will happen we talk to Sudanese. They will tell you that Sudan was colonized by Arab Muslim invaders. So yes, they will not admit it, but there is that kind of history there.
By history, he means the same systematic brutalization of the African, often using the Jews as middlemen. Religious brutalization that is woven into the fabric of Elmina Castle.
So the first put a pot metal, with a liquid, you fire, and you smear oil either your chest or your back or your forehead, and you use to touch, just to the bone. For women, we are giving tax because they can easily die from pain. So this was the holy ventilation here. And about 300 men marched to the room of no return. And over there, the small hole there is a people. The people that's what suggested to check what is going on in this land. So this is the mail transit back to the room of no return. So when the ships arrive here, they will anchor on the sea and they will send smaller boats here. Then we have steps. So the slaves, you pass through this door, and through this door, still in chains. You get onto the boats, and the boats will send to the ships. And the Portuguese took their slaves to the Brazil and the Caribbean islands, the Dutch, Suriname, Guyana, and Haiti.
The behavior of some of the African brothers and sisters was not befitting the occasion. Most of the time they were giggling and more interested in taking selfies. Sadly, there is no sense of occasion outside both Elmina and Cape Coast Castle. Feeling the pain of a brutal history does not pay the rent. And it felt wrong for me to have to pay an entrance fee. Sites like this should belong to the diaspora and not to any particular country. We've already paid the price. That said, it was still a transformative experience and a must for all black people.
That's the remains of a jet or a warp where ships come to anchor.
Where?
The fortress down there.
Oh, okay.
So the sea was touching the walls of the castle. So the ships, they anchored there and sent small boats to the door of no return, where designated by UNESCO as World Heritage Sites. This is saying that all those who fail to remember their past, they are condemned to repeat it. At this point, we come to the end of the tour of Elmina Castle. I have been your guide, the small crowd. Thank you very much.
Please come closer. Please come closer. Okay. Let us look up here. There's an open space up here.
Can you also?
Yeah.
Yes, the open space up here served as an ear for the British soldiers in the castle. What they do is that they pick some of the domestic slaves and they will be up here. What they do up here is listen to the conversations that was going on in the dungeons. If they are in case they are planning to escape or plan. If they are planning anything against them, the people up here would have to go back, inform the British soldiers. So even though the British soldiers, they were not in the dungeons, but they had every bit of information that was going on in the dungeon. All right, this is a cell. So it looks as if the punishment in the dungeons wasn't enough. They still went ahead to create a cell. It is not an ordinary cell, but a condemned cell. Those are the captives who felt this side wasn't their home. They were always finding ways and means to escape from the castle. Others were also fighting with the soldiers. So anybody who was caught in that act was seen to be stubborn, aggressive, rebellious. They were all locked up in this very cell. Nobody went through this side and they came back alive. Less than 48 hours in here, they all lost their lives in this very cell. Let us move in and explain to you why nobody survived in this cell. Please keep your heads down. Please watch your head. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to scare anybody. That is a condemned cell. There were 3 doors leading to this side. The first 2 doors in the middle, it has been removed, left to the last one. And even the last one, the door is still open. You can still feel the heat in here. You can imagine all the 3 doors are locked up. They were not given food nor water to take in. They were still in chains and in shackles. So out of suffocation and starvation, they all lost their lives within 48 hours. C.B. Whitehead died in 1812. At the time the Dutch and the British had misunderstanding and he was shot down. The third one this year is Captain George McLean. McLean was a Scotsman, born on 24th February 1801. He was a governor in this very castle, worked in here for so many years. He was the first person to establish the first court of justice in the country. They started up here. The door opened up there with a seal. McLean's friend. That is where the court system started. Again, you see the underground tunnel I made mention of. He was the same person who ensures that that underground tunnel will be sealed so nobody could walk through after 1883. He also succeeded in bringing the Fantis and the Ashantis together, signed a peace agreement to fight again. Died in 1887. So the very last one in here, Reverend Philip Kwaku, that is the name. Reverend Philip Kwaku was born in Cape Coast here. His father was a middleman. His father sells people out to the British. During the time of slavery, Africa was known to be the white man's grave because of tropical diseases. Most of the Europeans who came in here, they were not surviving, especially the missionaries they brought along. So what they did was that is to pick 3 boys, William, Thomas, Philip Kwaku, to England to teach them how to read and write. But then when they got to England, it was so unfortunate. William and Thomas, they lost their lives in England. Philip Kwaku stayed in England alone. He was the first African to be ordained as an Anglican priest in England. Later on, returned back to the castle. He worked in here as a reverend minister and also established the castle schools for the mulattoes.
Question. Why was he preaching to the mulattoes only?
No, he was not even preaching to the mulattoes. He was preaching to the British. He died in 17th of October, 1816. Let us look up here. We have 3 windows closed, just above the mill slave. 3 windows closed. Please, can you all see? Yes, that was the church I made mention of. The first English church or the first Anglican church. So once Philip was up here preaching the word of God, his brothers and sisters were also enslaved in the dungeons, dying and suffering. Because the trade was very successful and very profitable in here, The European nations were fighting among themselves. They all wanted to occupy this castle. But then when the British settled in here, they decided to protect the castle with these cannons lined up here. So whenever there are unknown ships approaching the castle, the soldiers in here, all they have to do is to destroy them. They pick one of the cannonballs, insert it at the mouth of the cannon. At the bottom of the cannon, they place in a gunpowder and then they light it. The cannonballs, there are two types of cannonballs. They have the ones with the hose. The ones with the hose, they need to fill the hose with gunpowder before they insert it. That one, the ball is going to explode. The ones without the hose, it is going to create spaces on the wooden ships for water to move into the ship gradually and then it settles down. So all these cannons you see up here, they were all placed here to protect the castle from their enemies. This is a cell. This is a cell. A female punishment cell. Officials in the castle, together with the soldiers, they were abusing the women sexually. Any lady who refused to be abused sexually will be beaten up severely. And the girl should be locked in here for a couple of days. A very huge metal gate covering the side. Food and water was given to them through the side. There is an open space here, that is where they had to defecate and urinate. So any lady who refused to have an affair with the governor will be locked in here.
I spoke to him later on about the use of the word affair instead of rape, which is what it was.
So that is a female slave dungeon. Two separate chambers for the women. This side is the very first chamber. We have the second chamber just opposite us, the door opposite us. Each chamber held 300 women. They were also not allowed to go out. They defecated, urinated, vomited, had their menstruation in here. They sat and slept around their own mess. The tree was up here. That was the only source of light and ventilation in the dungeon. In the male slave dungeon, I made mention of a drainage underground that carries away the liquid waste. But over in here, there is nothing like a drainage in here. The stench in here, it is something that I cannot describe. Whenever the governor wants to have an affair with any of the ladies in here, the governor comes with a servant, they stand right in front of the door, the governor looks through and then points at any of them. The servant comes in and then pick her out. She'll be taken to another place where she'll be given good food to eat, put on nice attire, take nice bath. From there, she'll be handed over to the governor. After the governor has finished having an affair with her, she'll be brought in here back again. But as time goes on, if they realize she's pregnant, they will still have to come for her for doctors to examine and then take good care of her. 3 months after delivery, the governor takes the baby, the woman will be brought in here back again. But if you're a lady in here and then you are not fortunate, on the way to the Americas, to the Caribbeans, if the soldiers in the ships get to know that they are pregnant women on board the ship, all they have to do is to offload all pregnant women into the ocean.
Okay, now we are on the boundary line. Please, this is the line that demarcates the regeneration here in the Red Forest. And this Kakum forest was firstly preserved by the British in 1907 and 1931. They used it as a forest reserve. 1940, they add here and Ascent Atendashu together. So the size of the forest is 360 square kilometers. And we have many animals like leopards, elephants, antelope, bongos, squirrels, tigers, monkeys, plenty. But as at now, we are going to the canopy. And this canopy was founded by Americans and built by 2 Canadians and 6 Ghanaian supporters in 1994. In 1995, it was commissioned by our former president, J.J. Lawrence. Since then, there's no casualty.
Kakum is one of the highlights of the trip. It's just vast and green. It was nice to get away from the city because Accra is really smoggy. I love the trees, the sounds, and just the whole vibe of the place. It was lovely. We were told that Easter is bigger than Christmas, and white Jesus was on display almost everywhere we went.
Here's the reality. The image of a white Jesus has been used to justify enslavement, conquest, colonialism, the genocide of indigenous peoples. There are literally millions of human beings whose lives have been snuffed out by people who conquered under the banner of a white God. The white Jesus, white God imagery has literally resulted in death. That's something folks ought to deal with. Jesus was not born in a manger in central Pennsylvania. He was a man of color, and the fact that we have represented him for centuries literally as a white man speaks to the entire history of white supremacy. There's a reason we've represented these icons as white. It's not a coincidence that we've done that. Black folks can think Jesus is black and view Christ as black, but at the end of the day, the image that has been used to dominate Christianity in this world and on this planet is the white image. So if certain people have been able to impose their image of the Christ, of the Savior on others, or God, or Adam and Eve, the first human beings ostensibly as white people, to believe that that doesn't have an effect is to believe that advertising doesn't have an effect. It's to believe that companies that spend billions of dollars don't actually sell you stuff based on the images they use, which is nonsense.
Since 1833, we have been calling for our rights to be recognised. The slave owners were paid out. The damage that's been done to our community, the fact that we're overrepresented in prisons, the fact that we're overrepresented in the penal system, the fact that we're overrepresented in unemployment figures, we're overrepresented when it comes to unjustified and illegal arrests on the street, the fact that within the education system they still have not implemented African history at all into the syllabus. This is what is happening to us today. We are suffering from post-traumatic slavery syndrome and post-traumatic slavery disorder as a result, a direct result of colonial slavery. I think the government needs to seriously address its approach to reparations. I think the government seriously needs to look at the African community here in the UK and the diaspora in general and address and acknowledge what's happened in the past and try to make amends. We suffer from racism, direct and indirect, in every walk of life, everywhere we go, in everything we do. And it's a painful situation to wear these chains today. This is about honouring our ancestors and what's happened to them and what is still happening to us today.
Seeing this poster of John the Baptist felt like we'd gone back in time. If you've been to Elsha, Fort Clarence, or even the Grill, then beach life in Ghana is nothing like that. For instance, they serve sausages on the beach, where in Jamaica it's strictly fish and festival. And they have some very different type of dances and celebrations to what may take place in Jamaica. But again, it was great to be amongst I people. While Accra deals with the hard sell, the craft market deals with the unrelenting sell. Be prepared to be pestered to near death when going there. And right next door is Kwame Nkrumah's mausoleum. The mausoleum itself requires some attention. The artifacts are dusty and the place just seems forgotten. However, the grounds are welcoming and peaceful and offer some much needed respite from the bustling traffic. So what is my impression of Ghana, my first trip, and would I be able to call Ghana home? In short, yes. It is different. It has a different history. They do have a very strong addiction to white man's view, more so, I think, than the wider diaspora. But we are Ghana, and Ghana is us. Same with all of the East African countries that were part of the war called the slave trade. It is bursting with youthful energy. There is lots of love, There's lots of oneness and a determination to heal old wounds.
Good afternoon, great people of Jamaica. My name is Kwaku Adu Jemfi Ampofo. Jamaica is the eye of Africa. As Nelson Mandela also said, is the strength of Africa. I give you the honor and I give you all the utmost respect because you represent us as Africans. If Africa has a population of 3 million or 3 billion, a person from Jamaica stands for not less than 3 million people because you are our leaders. You are our prophets and our prophetess.
We are very privileged to be with you, particularly our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean and the diaspora. And the people from all over Africa, our brothers and sisters from all over Africa. I wish at this point to particularly to apologize deeply on behalf of the chiefs and people of Gold Coast and Ghana for the atrocities, the cruelty, the inhuman treatment that were committed 400 years ago by my ancestors during the Atlantic slave trade, where over 400 years ago, millions of our brothers and sisters were captured, sold and transported under inhumane and cruel circumstances through Elmina Castle across to the Caribbean and to the New World. On behalf of the chiefs and people of Ghana, I do render unqualified apology, deep from the bottom of our hearts. Deep from our bottom of our hearts. But one thing that I want you to be aware of, it was not without resistance. Some of our chiefs did fought and resisted. Some of our people did fought and resisted. But we are fighting a losing battle against a stronger army. People with guns, and we had no guns. They deceived us with liquor and all other temptations. Whatever the circumstances that led us to us, we stand here to render apology. And it's my wish and prayer that this apology is accepted. It's accepted deep by our brothers and sisters from the diaspora.
So there you have it from this week's ORT. Give thanks for the moment, give thanks for your time. And remember, talk the thing.
Organize, sit down.